Ayanokoji understands something most people never realize. Manipulators are not powerful because they are smarter. They are powerful because people react without thinking. In everyday life, manipulation doesn't look extreme. It looks normal. It looks reasonable. Sometimes, it even looks like concern. Manipulators observe first. They listen more than they speak. They notice how quickly you explain yourself, how easily guilt affects your decisions, how often emotions control your actions. Every reaction gives them information. Every explanation gives them leverage. Most people make the same mistake. They think the solution is to fight back, to argue harder, to prove their point. That never works. Ayanokoji never competes with manipulators. He studies them. Manipulation depends on emotional movement. Anger tells them where to push. Fear tells them how much control they have. Guilt allows them to lead without resistance. So the first thing Ayanokoji removes is emotional exposure. He doesn't show irritation. He doesn't rush decisions. He doesn't explain himself unnecessarily. When a manipulator tries to provoke him, he stays calm. When they pressure him, he slows the interaction. When they demand answers, he gives only what is required, nothing more. This is important. Silence disrupts manipulators because silence cannot be guided. In real life, manipulators want reactions. They want reassurance. They want emotional feedback. Anything they can measure and adjust. What they cannot measure, they cannot control. Over time, Ayanokoji notices a pattern that applies everywhere. Manipulators create confusion first. Mixed messages, emotional pressure, unclear expectations. Then they present themselves as the solution. If you've ever felt mentally exhausted after talking to someone, that's not random. Ayanokoji never accepts the solution. Instead of defending himself, he asks neutral questions. Why is this important to you? What outcome are you expecting? What happens if I say no? These questions do one thing very well. They force clarity. Manipulation survives in ambiguity. Clarity weakens it. When manipulators have to explain themselves, their control decreases. Ayanokoji also understands something critical. Information is power. That's why he never reveals long-term plans, never shares emotional weaknesses, never explains decisions that are already final. Manipulators don't attack facts. They attack reasoning. So Ayanokoji removes reasoning from the conversation. When he sets boundaries, he states them once. No apology, no justification, no debate. That doesn't work for me. I've decided otherwise. I'm not interested. Clear, calm, final. This is where most people fail. Manipulators test limits. If the limit moves, they push further. If it stays firm, they slow down. At first, manipulation escalates. More pressure, more emotional tactics, more subtle threats. This happens in families, in friendships, at work, in relationships. Ayanokoji remains consistent. Consistency removes hope. Hope that you will react. Hope that you will explain. Hope that you will eventually give in. When hope disappears, manipulation loses power. Eventually, something changes. The manipulator's words stop influencing behavior. Their presence stops creating pressure. Their silence stops feeling threatening. Control reverses naturally. Ayanokoji doesn't dominate manipulators. He doesn't expose them. He makes them irrelevant, and that is what manipulators fear most. Not intelligence, not confrontation, irrelevance. Ayanokoji understands the final principle. The goal is not to manipulate the manipulator. The goal is to become unreachable, unreadable, unbothered, independent. Manipulators can only control people who need something from them. Approval, validation, emotional security. Ayanokoji needs none. And because of that, manipulation stops working. Not because of strength, but because of awareness.